What is going on, squad? Welcome to another amazing episode of the Make Fit Happen podcast. I'm your co-host, Mr. Big Daddy Jupe, and joining me as always is Amanda Snowball Kim. What's going on, Snowball? What's crack-a-lacking down yonder in the southern hemisphere area of the United States of the US of A? Bruh?
Jupe, it's October and it was still 90 degrees today in Texas.
Oh, well, it's
Oh,
only gonna be in the 60s in Colorado. Can't wait for that. It's gonna be amazing. Um, Let me tell you something to all of the listeners out here. Your boy is actually going to be a dad. So we officially have a baby on the way. We're 9 weeks. Woo woo! Yeah, we're 9 weeks pregnant now, and it's crazy and wild, and I don't even know what to do with myself right now. So on Tuesday will be 10 weeks. I didn't know this, but so I thought I was super smart when it came to biology, but I learned some cool things. Apparently, up until there's a full blown umbilical cord and placenta and thingy-majigger and how babies work and stuff. Apparently, the baby's blood mixes with the mama's blood to get like oxygenated and stuff. Like it goes like out the umbilical cord and then like up to the
yep.
lungs and all that stuff. I didn't know that. And when they do that, what they can do is they will actually take the mother's blood and they can separate the mother's blood and the baby's blood to do like genetic testing to test for illnesses and all kinds of crazy stuff and the gender and all that stuff. Like as little as 10 weeks, or like I think the ideal window is like between 10 to 12 weeks, like in the first trimester. I had no idea, blew my brain. So we're gonna find out the gender super quick. So
Like I knew their blood mixes. I did not know that they could actually separate the blood and do genetic testing and all that kind of stuff. So
they
that's
sure
pretty cool.
can. They can do not like a full crazy screening. I think they can check for like some
Right.
specific chromosomal markers, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. And obviously, with the chromosomal markers comes the XX or the XY chromosome. So we are gonna find out it super soon. So it's gonna be cray cray. Holy cow!
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's been a crazy 4 weeks. Let me tell you. Since engagement, we had baby announcement and now planning the wedding and then so on and so forth, and it's been a wild time to say the least. So holy cow. But you guys, today in today's episode, we are going to be talking about working out with a spouse or significant other who doesn't necessarily enjoy working out as much as you do, which happens to me quite a bit. And I had this realization one day because I was talking to Katie, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm so excited for the gym. It's gonna be leg day. Are you excited?" And she was like, "I mean, I guess." And I was like, "What do you mean you're not excited for the gym?" She goes, "Babe, not everyone enjoys the gym." And I was like, "What?" Like it just. And she was like, she says, "Yeah, some people just go to the gym to not be unhealthy. They don't actually enjoy working out and being in the gym." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a new one to me." So today we're going to be talking about how to make it work with somebody who isn't necessarily as wild and crazy about the gym as you. Have you had this experience, Amanda?
Yeah, so my very first long-term relationship was with a guy named Manny, and he didn't work out at all. And he was also very overweight. He was, almost 300 pounds. He was a very big guy, and he didn't work out at all. And I had probably been working out for 3 to 4 years at this point. And it was tough at times because I would be like, all right, I'm gonna go work out, and he would get mad because it was less time I was spending with him. Because at the time I was going to college, and like in order to see him, because he would never come up to see me, I would always have to drive back down there to see him, and or drive. I really said say drive up because my college was south of where I grew up in, so I had to drive like hour and a half to go see him. So if I spent like the weekend with him, but I wanted to work out one of those days, he took it really personal and basically got upset that I wanted to go work out. So I had to, in order to try to manage that and be a little bit more compliant, I guess is the word, or I don't know what word I'm looking for. Compromise.
Mm.
So to compromise, I basically would only work out Monday through Friday. So, and I would make sure my workout on Friday was like early in the morning or something. So that way, when I went to see him, I didn't work out. It wasn't the best for my schedule,
Mm.
but I did it to compromise with him.
Gotcha.
And a lot of that was hard because at that time I was still super strict about my eating and about working out. So especially the eating, like if you can imagine someone who's that overweight didn't give two shits about what they ate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we'd go out to eat, and a lot of times like he would get fast food, fried food. I mean, he worked at McDonald's, so a lot of what he ate was from McDonald's.
Yeah.
But it would be like a lot of like luckily diners in New Jersey, you can pretty much order whatever you want any time of day, any type of food. So at that aspect, I could kind of stick to my diet plan, but it was always large portions. So that kind of made it harder to stick to my plan because I had someone that not necessarily I would say was purposely sabotaging me,
Mhm.
but was very much like that aspect of my life they had no interest in and had, you know, no plans to be interested in it
Right.
either. So at the time, like he didn't really care about if I was dieting or not. So I kind of had to work that around with him. Obviously, the relationship failed, so it was
Obviously.
part of the deal in my mind. Yeah, in my mind, it was partly a deal breaker because there was no compromise on his end. But it
Mm.
can be really difficult when you have someone who's totally not interested in that aspect, and that's something that's a top priority to you. It can cause a lot of conflict in a relationship if you don't talk it out and you don't figure out a way to compromise with each other and understand each other.
Yeah, I've had all the above. I've had someone that like was just as dedicated as I was. I've had someone who did not work out in the gym at all, and their philosophy was as long as I go outside and I'm active, then that'll count, which was totally fine. The only thing that was frustrating was that individual was vegan or vegetarian. And she said, I'll make you all the meals that you want, but I'm going to make them how I want to. So it was never within the macros that I wanted. It was always vegan/vegetarian. So I didn't get, so at that point I got all the way down to like 170 pounds. So I slimmed up really well, but I was not big by any means. And then I've also had it to where the exact opposite, where the individual, I was their coach basically. And anytime they didn't go to the gym, it was my fault because I wasn't holding them accountable. Like they would want to sleep in the morning. And it was actually I wouldn't say a trigger thing, but like, I remember one day, we get into fights about it. They'd be like, "Oh my god, you didn't wake me up to go to the gym," and I was like, "You told me to leave you in bed." So it's always a point of conflict. And one day I asked Katie, I was like, "Hey Katie, like, do you want to go to the gym with me?" And she was like, "No, I'm gonna sleep in." And I was like, and I immediately had like a rush of like anxiety, and I was like, "All right, okay, I guess. Hopefully, I don't get yelled at later." And then I went to the gym, did my thing, came back, and she was totally fine. And I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just didn't want to go to the gym this morning. I was tired. It's my fault for not wanting to get up." And I was like, "Oh, what? This is what it's like? Oh my goodness!" So yeah. So I've had both. I've had Katie's thing is, she's not in love with the gym like I am. Like I love being active and going. I love lifting weights. I just think lifting weights is fun. I like doing all the things. For Katie, it's more of like, I guess just so I can, have, a healthy heart and healthy lungs and that kind of stuff. It's a checklist type thing, not a, this is what I like to do kind of a thing. So, and I don't think they're deal breakers for me personally, just because we communicate really well about yes, I want to go to the gym. No, I don't want to go to the gym. We just communicate really well. So I don't think it's a deal breaker personally. But that's just me.
Yeah, I would agree. You have to have a partner. You have to have a partner that's willing to compromise like Katie is with you. Like it's not a top priority to her, but that doesn't have to be a big deal. She still occasionally works out and occasionally you guys work out together. Cuz I've also been in your shoes where I had it both ways. I had a partner that worked out all the time, like, and then I had a part at the extreme where they didn't work out at all. So like one of my ex-boyfriends, we kind of did similar workouts because we were both into powerlifting, and it was actually super beneficial for our relationship, and it was part of the connection that held us together because we'd work out together, we followed very similar programs. There were certain aspects that he was better at than I was that he helped me with, and vice versa. There were certain aspects that I was better at that I helped him with, and it was really a good grounds for our relationship. And it was a commonality that we had and a passion that we both really shared because we were both personal trainers at the time too. And then the relationship I had after that was someone that did like to enjoy working out. But when it came to our schedules, we never really worked out together, which was not a problem. Like I would always work out early in the morning and I'd get home. And as soon as I get home, he leaves to go work out. And I didn't have a problem with it. Did it cut back on some of our time together? Yeah, but it didn't really bother me because it was a priority for him and it was a priority for me. And, you know, if it's something that's important to you, I'm not going to stop you from doing that. But where it kind of created some friction in our relationship was like he played football, you know, at a D2 like college, nothing crazy, but he had worked out most of his life. He played football, so like he kind of felt like he knew it all. And when he would ask me for advice, I would give him my advice, but it kind of felt like he just wanted the advice to argue. You know, like it would turn into, well, I don't think you're right, or this or that.
Then why'd you
And then
ask?
he would never take my advice. And yeah, yeah. And my point was like, well, why'd you ask if you're just going to turn it into, I don't believe you, or I just sit here and want to argue with you. So like, I didn't like that aspect of it. And it would cause some friction sometimes. And then he was never as strict on his diet as I was. Like he'd want to go out to eat all the time. And I'm not someone that always wants to go out to eat.
Sure.
Part of it is because I can't control what they put in my food all the time. That aspect I don't really like, especially if I'm dieting. I really don't want to go out to eat.
Yeah, no, that
Like
makes
you
total
can't
sense.
control how many calories they're really giving you.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You don't actually have
and he
full
always wanted
control over it.
Right. And he always wanted to go out to eat. So like that caused a little bit of friction because I would be like, I don't really want to go out to eat. And it was for him, it was us spending time together, which I understood. But for me, it was like, this is not the only way we need to spend time together. And then I would say now my relationship is kind of the perfect balance. Like Randall worked out when he was younger and he used to work out a lot and he had stopped for a long time. And now he wakes up really early, 4 o'clock in the morning with me to go work out. And even though he doesn't have as much knowledge as me, he'll listen to me, you know, and he enjoys working out with me because it's kind of our bonding thing. Like it's something him and I do together in the morning together. And then we either go home and make breakfast or we go and eat breakfast somewhere. So it's like, it's time that we spend together and it's always fun. It's not the ideal time. 4 o'clock in the morning is not ideal.
Nope, not at all.
But it's always fun. So I think, is it a deal breaker? No. But I think it does help when at least they have somewhat of an interest in it. It doesn't have to be a priority for them. It doesn't have to be a passion for them. It doesn't have to be any of that. But if they'll go and work out with you every once in a while, it is kind of nice to have them as company and just enjoy that time together.
Yeah, I agree. For Katie and I, it's very much like whenever she feels like it kind of a thing, which is perfectly fine because we don't have any kind of set thing. I'm going no matter what. And I find both. I like working out alone. I have no problem with it, but it's also nice to have somebody there as well. So it's nice to have either one. So I don't have any preference either way personally. Definitely not a deal breaker though. Just as long as you're communicating I say it's not a deal breaker as long as you're communicating what your roles are in your fitness. So I'm a coach and a trainer and I have all the certifications and stuff like that, but I am not making Katie's plans. I am not holding her accountable. Like it creates a different type of relationship. In my opinion, I've been my significant other's like nutrition coach and training coach, and it sucked because when I had to get stern with them, there would be a fight back and there'd be contention, and it was just not ideal. So in my opinion, I don't think your significant other should be your coach or trainer ever. Period. In my opinion.
And Jupe, I know you had a super bad experience with that in your relationship, and it basically, you know, I'm guessing it really hurt. Like, one, your time together must have felt like it was only about you coaching, and probably never felt about like you guys together. And then two, it probably created a lot of conflict when you had to hold that person accountable to something that they struggle with in the first place. So, do you think like is there a certain point in a relationship where if you're more communicative with each other and really have a strong foundation, do you think it's possible for you to coach your significant other, or do you think it will always lead to some type of conflict with your significant other?
I think if you're communicative about it, you definitely can. But also like the biggest thing, it wasn't even the training, it was the nutrition piece that was the hard one
Yeah.
because I'm a hardcore like, hey, whatever you want, I don't give a shit. But I would have to tell the individual like, nope, you don't get any more rice, you don't get any more pasta, you don't get any more cookies. Like I had to be the stern voice of reason, and it caused lots of contention. So I think as long as you're communicative with somebody, I think being a trainer is piece of cake. I think the nutrition piece is what is the hardest part because being your significant other's coach, like that's what I do for Katie right now. Like to be honest, I'll modify my workouts to kind of better suit her because I'm not training for anything specific right now. So like, I know that she like whenever I do legs, I would typically for myself do I'll do like some kind of plyometric type thing to try to increase power or something like that. And whenever I work out with Katie, we don't do that. I focus a little bit more on glutes, than I do for myself. So I'll do that, no problem. The training piece is not a big deal for me. It's the nutrition piece. I think that I don't think I'll ever be Katie's nutrition coach. Maybe if we talk about it one day, but I think I could like make her meals. But I just don't think I could say no because that's just such a point of contention, in my opinion. Like I said, I think nutrition is much harder than actual training. Because if someone's like, "Oh, I can't believe I have to do another set of lunges," I'm like, "Yeah, well, suck it up, Buttercup. Like that's not a big deal." But when I'm telling somebody they can't have food, that's
Right.
like, nope, hard stop. I'm not about that personally for Katie.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. Telling someone like, "Hey, you can't eat that," especially for someone like, let's say they were overweight for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In their head, they could take that as, "Oh, you don't find me attractive. That's why you're telling me not to eat that. Oh, you think I'm fat. That's why you're telling me not to eat that." Like it becomes something completely different than what your intention is, just because
Exactly.
how they feel about being told they can't eat something.
Exactly.
And that's like the hard part because even if that's not your intention, it doesn't matter. They will take it that way. That's like the hard part. So if you could do it over again, would you have hired a professional nutrition coach for your ex that you were coaching? Do
Oh
you
hell
think it
yeah.
would have helped the relationship if
Oh
that happened?
hell yes. Absolutely. Like we're kind of on the topic right now in our bullet points, but like I absolutely would seek when it comes to training, it's not like I said, it's not that big of a deal. But I think the nutrition piece, you have to have a coach persona for that individual. Period. There can't be any kind of
Right.
I'm your friend or I'm your significant other or anything like that. In my opinion, I think when you're talking about nutrition specifically, just because it's such a taboo topic, especially like in the when you're coaching somebody to lose weight or gain weight, especially for a show, because you have to be very, very extreme. I think you cannot have any kind of a like romantic, like I want to make you feel better kind of thing. Period. You have to hire a professional, in my opinion. And
Right.
not to say like you couldn't do it. I just don't want to do it ever again. I don't think that anyone who's in a relationship with somebody who is should coach from a nutrition standpoint should coach their significant other. Period. I think you should absolutely hire a coach 10 out of 10 every single time. And you? What do you think?
I would agree. Like for me, it's hard. It would be hard for me to get coached by my significant other, especially if my significant other per se, I felt didn't have as much knowledge as me or didn't
Mm,
have as much experience as me, but they were trying to tell me what to do. I would have some contention with that because I would be like, well, why do you think that way?
Yep.
And a little bit of it, as dickhead as this sounds, would be like, well, why should I listen to you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, even though I care about this person and they're my significant other, that's a particular avenue that I consider myself pretty educated and pretty much an expert in. And like, if you're not there, it's hard for me to take your advice.
Yep.
You know, as shitty as that sounds.
No, that makes
But
total
on
sense.
the flip side of that, yeah. But on the flip side of that, if I felt, it's very easy for me to be like, if I felt that you were stronger than me in an aspect. So, like, for example, one of my exes, Brandon, is a very good strongman and powerlifter competitor. Extremely, like, super smart when it comes to programming. And he's a good athlete. So, when he would give me advice about how to program for myself, I didn't have a problem with it because I knew I had seen him be successful doing his own programming, and I've seen where he would give me like a little pointer and something and see how it translates to how well I can work out. Where we really differed was he was a type 1 diabetic. So he almost followed for a period of time like a keto style diet because it allowed him to maintain his blood sugar better. So our eating habits were like completely different.
Interesting.
The good thing about it was he never made me feel guilty or bad that I didn't want to eat the way he was eating.
Good.
You know, like I was like, hey, that doesn't really work for me. I need carbs for me to be successful.
Yo.
So he's like, yeah, I'm fine with it. I don't care if you eat a freaking pizza in front of me. Like he never made me feel like we eat so differently that it had to be weird.
Exactly.
But on the flip side of that, I've been in relationships where like someone doesn't monitor what they eat. They don't count their calories, they don't count their macros. And you know, they would feel like if I don't eat dinner with them, it's like me purposely vindictively trying to do something to them. And I never liked that aspect because it's like, well, no, I don't look at it that way. It's just you eat way more calories than I do, for one, and I don't want to eat the thing that you're eating. I'm going to eat something else, you know? So I think in certain aspects, could it work? Yeah. But I agree with you that I would prefer my significant other not to be my coach in any aspect.
Nope.
At least when it comes to health and fitness. In other aspects of life, like that's different. But health and fitness, like it's hard for me to have my significant other as a coach because it's such a big part of my life. It consumes so much time. Like if I didn't agree with you about something and this caused conflict and like it would get under my skin and it would bother me. So I agree with you. I would prefer my significant other not to be my coach. But coming back around to that, so have you ever had it where, speaking of conflict, it's ever created an issue in your relationship of how much you work out? Like has anyone you dated ever felt like you don't spend enough time with them because you're in the gym all the time and you care more about the gym than you care about them?
Yeah, definitely. The vegan, vegetarian individual, that's what they thought. And I absolutely like sacrificed some gym time to be with them without a doubt. And I'm looking back, I probably shouldn't have because one of the things that just like makes me happy. But I was doing that. This is before COVID, so at that time I was doing jujitsu and I was doing Muay Thai for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes on Saturdays, and then I was also in the gym, so I was spending a lot of time away. And looking back, it definitely caused a point of conflict, and I definitely like slacked on my fitness and stopped working out as much. I shouldn't have. I've now Kate Kate.
Yeah.
I work out now about the same amount as I did back then. Not like as like hours in a row, but overall hours probably. And for Katie and I, it's nice because we aren't attached to the hip. We both have things we both like to go do without each other. So now it's I find that having something you do outside of the relationship is much healthier. Personally. So I go to the gym by myself. I go and work out once a week with a friend. You know, I go to Muay Thai and it's good because it gives us time away from each other. That way the relationship is still like, oh, awesome, how was this, how was that, how was that thing that you enjoyed doing. It's another conversation starter, but it's time for us to be away from each other, which I find is healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely understand that. And I've definitely had it where how much I work out causes a conflict in the relationship because it's always like, well, you don't spend time with me. You rather go work out,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot of the reason why I started working out at odd times. It was part of it was my work schedule, but the other part of it was, well, I could work out after work, but then you feel like I'm not spending time with you. So I work out before work. So when I come home, I could spend time with you. So that same person that would complain about that started working out in the evenings. And that same person worked out, worked from home. So they could really work out at any point if they
Yeah.
wanted to. So I just find like those things kind of funny. Like it was a point of contention for them and they felt like I didn't spend any time with them because I prioritized my workout. But then when they made their workout a priority, they didn't really care about, spending time with me. So for me, like, is it going to take up your time? Yeah. If you make the gym a priority, it does take up a large portion of your time.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, if you work out an hour a day, 5 days a week or more, so that's at least 5 to 6 hours that you're working out. And then let's say you go 40 hours to work, like, that leaves you so much time with your significant other if they also work a full-time job and they also have other things to do. So a lot of that is a balance. Like I think, can it work? Absolutely. You just have to communicate with each other and find that balance and set expectations of how much time you are going to spend with each other.
Yep. I think we're
Because
finding
if you're a
a
couple that does
pattern
spend a
here.
lot of
We're finding a pattern of
yes.
of communication
hmm
with a lot.
Which is funny because that's what you'll find in every book or YouTube video that tells you how to make a relationship work. It all comes down to communication, right?
Yep.
I
Yes, it
disagree with
does.
that point. I think what it really comes down to though is compromise.
Like finding out where you can
Compromise and
compromise.
just be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and be nice to each other. Like if you're about to get into an argument, like choose to be nice before you get nasty.
Now we gonna throw some hands. Is
Like
what's
that's
gonna
why
happen.
yeah, it's like, "No, we gotta throw some hands." That's like for me personally, like I when I am in conflict with a person in my relationship, it's a polar opposite of how I am if I'm in conflict at like work or with a friend or something like that. Like in a relationship, I would rather say nothing because I don't want, especially if I'm angry. Like if I'm angry, I would rather say nothing than say something hurtful. So I'll like just be quiet, and most of the time that's how you know I'm angry. But I'll just get really quiet and not want to say anything, and I can't help myself. Like I know it's not necessarily a good thing because I should just say, "You did this. I'm upset about it. Blah blah blah," and I'm working on it. But it's just super hard for me to break that habit. Uh, it was because I've been in relationships where a person just flies off the handle at me when they're angry,
Yeah.
and in my head, I've always made this image in my head of like I never want to be like that. I never want to make someone else feel how that person used to make me feel.
Sure.
So my way of dealing with it is just be super quiet. But Jupe's right. There's a pattern here. Like you have to compromise and you have to communicate with each other. Whether it's fitness or you're dieting or anything like that, it's you have to find a common ground. And I think that kind of goes into our next point of like, how do you manage a strict diet? Like, let's say you're a bodybuilding show or something like that that you were prepping for, and still be in a relationship. Because a lot of parts of relationships, especially when you're dating, is going out to eat, going out to get drinks, going to the movies. They're all things that usually involve food. So, how do you maintain a strict diet when you're in a relationship?
It is very much being in open dialogue and communicating with that individual. And I'm only done one bodybuilding show. I'll never do another one because fuck that shit. But when I was doing that bodybuilding show, I was extremely focused on me. You got to be a little selfish whenever you're doing a bodybuilding show because you have to stick to your workouts and stick to your eating plan and all that kind of stuff. So you just got to tell them, listen, I'm going to be selfish for a while, just for the short period of time. And if you go out to eat, then it's just being an open dialogue with everybody and be like, listen, I'm just not going to eat what y'all are eating. I'll have some water and I'll have a salad and like a chicken salad instead of having a burger or whatever. It's nothing against anybody that's here, but it's just having the open dialogue and telling everybody, listen, I'm just not going to eat this shit because I can't, because I'm too focused on this goal that I have.
Mhm.
And it is what it is. Like
Right.
they just have to understand that, period. When you're on a strict diet like that. That's my
I
take.
agree. Because the other thing that you have to, I think, make clear to this person is like, this is temporary.
Yep.
This is not going to be the rest of our relationship. It's not like we're never going to go out to eat together ever again. But if it's something really important to you, like even if you're not doing a bodybuilding show, but let's say you're trying to lose weight
You're
and you
trying
have a
for general
timeline that
health
you want to
reasons,
lose
you
that
know?
weight in. Yeah, for general health reasons, like you don't want to be that other person who kind of sabotages or makes that person feel bad about losing weight, because that will skew their entire view of weight loss from
Yep.
therein. Especially if like this is like the first time they're trying to lose weight or something like that.
Yep.
So I think Jupe's right. You do have to be a little bit selfish because it
Which
has
is
to
okay.
kind of become your top priority. And they kind of have to take a back seat for a couple months at
Exactly.
most.
Exactly.
You know,
And it is what
but
it is.
I think if I think yeah, exactly. But I think if you have that conversation ahead of time, it eases a lot of the tension when it comes to that. And then also revisiting that conversation at certain points in the dieting, because the other thing that people forget about is like when you are dieting, you can become a little moody, you
Yep.
can become a little short tempered because you're not getting as much food. You know, you are in a calorie deficit, you are restricting the amount that you're eating, and that affects a lot of people's mood.
Yep.
So like having that conversation with your significant other ahead of time and then being able to formulate that conversation again when it's happening, I think goes a long way in not creating so much conflict when someone's dieting.
Yep. Also,
Because you could fly off the handle for them leaving a glass on the freaking counter.
yep.
And then you're like, sorry, it's dieting and I'm out of gas and anything's gonna set me off right now.
Yeah, and also it's making it a point to tell them, "Hey, listen, guess what? We had like my cheat meal is on Friday. Where do you want to go?" And then having that be your date night, where you're gonna have your one cheat meal that you get, every
Yeah.
2 weeks. We're gonna go on a date night and we're just gonna splurge, right? Like just having that kind of stuff happen and
Right.
being in that open communication, like that way you guys are kind of going through it together. That's a special thing that you guys would do for sure. That's me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my opinion.
I mean, I agree with you. I've had it where I've been really strict dieting, and most of my relationships it's really hard for the other person to support it because they're not dieting at the same time.
Yep.
And I get that. So a lot of times to make it easier, um like we wouldn't see each other as much just to make it easier. Cuz one, it might be that I'm super moody and it's hard for me to control my emotions because I'm just not getting in enough calories, and two, they may want to do things that involve foods that I can't eat.
Exactly.
And instead of putting myself in those situations, I would rather avoid them.
Yep.
So, but I agree with Jupe. Like when you have those cheat days, or let's say when you hit your goal, like have an end game plan of, this is what we're gonna do as soon as I lose all this weight, and plan like go on a big vacation together or something. Like we'll go here and it's gonna be great and we're gonna have a great time. Like have that goal together so they feel a part of your journey, and more than that, they'll want to see you succeed because they'll feel like they're helping you. They feel
Exactly.
like they're part of what got you to that end goal and got you to that vacation with them.
Exactly.
And I would say coming around to our last point, because initially we started with how do you deal with someone who doesn't work out at all? Do you think you can influence a significant other to work out? Either have it be more or work out at all.
Yeah, I think you definitely can, but also having the open dialogue of what the influence means. So when I say influence, I don't mean, hey, listen, like we need to go work out together. We need to go work out together. You haven't done anything, or hey, we need to go work out together because I wanted to go do this. It's like, how much of this do you want to be a part of? Because in a negative fashion, I had one of my exes. She was not necessarily like into lifting weights, and I taught her how to lift weights. And then she said she wanted to do a powerlifting competition and all this shit. And then after we ended up breaking up, she was like, I never wanted to do any of that stuff. I did it because you wanted to. And I was like, you had never one time ever told me that you did not want to do this. You just said, yeah, I'll go lift weights with you. And she was like, well, that's just because I thought that was what you wanted to hear. So that's on the completely negative side of shit. Of that person told me one of the reasons why they wanted to break up was because they changed who they were to be with me. And I was like, I didn't fucking ask you to do anything. I just said I wanted to fucking work out. So that was one influence that I had on the person. Keep in mind, lifting weights is beneficial, but they went in a complete opposite direction of just like, I'm going to change everything about me and my fitness style to do that. On the total opposite turn, you absolutely can influence somebody to work out, but should you? I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't. It depends on how you're influencing that person. If you're asking them, "Hey, do you want to go work out with me today?" but then also not like making them feel like they have to, or else they're going to lose your love. I think working out together can absolutely strengthen your bond. I think that working out is healthy. Period. Point blank. It doesn't really. You can't fight me on that. But it's also how you're telling the person. I'm not telling them, hey, listen, you're unhealthy, and if you don't come work out with me, I'm going to love you less. Like you absolutely should not be doing any kind of negative type shit like that. But you definitely can, but you don't have to. Fitness is your own journey.
Yeah.
You should be on,
I think I agree with Jupe. I think you should share your passion with them, like invite them to come work out with you every once in a while. And that just watching you or being with you when you're super happy and, your workout mode may influence them to want to go do it more, just simply because they see you happy and they enjoy spending time with you. But I 100% agree with Jupe. You should never make it that's a deal breaker for the relationship, and your affection is contingent on whether they're going to share this passion with you or not. Because part of the reason that relationships are fun is because you and this other person may have a lot of similarities, but you also should have a lot of differences. And I'm not saying big differences on like big things, like moral issues, you shouldn't have differences on. Those should definitely be the same. But you can have different hobbies and you can have different passions, and that makes the relationship fun because you see this person that may be passionate about something that you have no idea about. But you like to see them light up when they do it or when they talk about it. So I think it's important that, you don't have to purposely influence them because you feel like if you don't, then you're not going to be able to deal with this relationship. You can influence them in a nonchalant way, I guess is the way I put it, of like, listen, this is your choice. You're more than welcome or always invited to come work out with me. But if you don't want to, it's no big deal. Like, that's how I kind of look at it.
Absolutely.
Now, I do think though, if let's say you have a partner that is struggling with health, you should have a real conversation with them about their health and make it more about, hey, I love you, I care about you, I don't want to see you be unhealthy and have something happen to you.
Exactly.
Like, that's the biggest thing. If you have a partner that is unhealthy, having that conversation of like, I want you here for a long time and I want to spend more time with you and I don't want that to get cut short because of health issues, I think is important. But let's say for the most part, you're both generally healthy and there's nothing going on there, but they just don't really like to work out as much as you. Just always have that open door of like, they're more than welcome to come join you, but it's never a must.
Yeah. Boom. I love it. Good endpoint.
Boom.
Was there anything else we had to cover about this? I don't think so. Was that it?
No.
Boom.
I think that was all our key points there.
Boom. Beautiful. I love it, guys. So I think what we decided is, open communication. Don't shove your values on someone's face, and keep on keeping on, y'all, this has been the latest installment of the Make It Happen podcast. Until next time, love, peace, and protein.
Peace.